Live. All right. So everyone out there, how y'all doing today? I want to give you guys some information. I think that would be helpful. It was on my heart to give this out. And I think these are things that personally that we should think about, but give me a second, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I get this over to my other page. So I want to make sure that I maximize everyone, seeing it. If anybody's catching this on the replay, for sure, you can give me in the comments, let me know what you think about that. And also anybody live, if you want to come on, I can definitely bring you on. I can send you a link and you could join the conversation. But we're going to get into it in a second. Let's get it here. So let's get that here. So we're going to rock and roll in about 30 seconds. Okay. The IBM. All right. Yep, we're going to get rocking in 2 shakes. We almost there. Make sure I get that right. By artists. Use it. All right, 10 more seconds and we're going to get going. Let's get this party started over there. All right, so in case you guys don't know, I am Jeff Green out here on the East Coast in the tri-state area. And what I want to do today is I want to just give some valuable information in reference to, I think, artists. Now, it doesn't matter if you're a musician, you're an actor, whatever form of art that you do, I think this could be very, very helpful to you. And if you're not an artist, you can still listen in. You might know an artist that you might be helping out. So if you guys are not artists, hang out with me anyway. And I think it'd be some valuable information maybe that you can use as well. So what I want to do is I want to start off where we get into what I mean by IBM. And I think it's really, really important for that. Now, I'm going to be coming from more of an actor's perspective. But again, if you're in a form, if you're a dancer, if you're a musician, if you're a singer, anybody can use any of this stuff. And I think it could be valuable to you. So the first pillar I want to talk about is, what does IBM stand for? IBM stands for, the I is your independent. That's what you do independently. That's your independent grind. And I'm going to get into that. The B is the business portion, which I think is very crucial for everyone. And the M is that mainstream that you're going to be doing. So the first pillar I want to definitely talk about, I want to talk about the I. Now, the I is your independent grind. That is you creating things, and we're in a time right now that we're in a very creative time with everybody being, no projects going on and everyone being creative. You want to start creating your own projects, whether that is you by yourself or that is you doing a partnership or a joint venture with someone else, whether that's writing in it, producing something, directing something. You want to create that which you have for yourself, because you want to think about it from this perspective. That by you doing that for yourself, what you're doing is you're creating a catalog of things on your own that, while you're getting it out there or you're marketing yourself or you're trying to establish yourself, you have that catalog of work, the things that you've acted in or you've produced, or you've directed in, or you shot. You have those things that are just for you. And the benefit to that is you want to be able to have that from a perspective of, now you're creating not just you as the actor, you're creating that brand. And I know people say, oh, maybe I don't have that business savvy to do that, but that's okay, because the bottom line is that by you creating that catalog for yourself, right, you have that to now show some work. Say, for instance, if you're brand new and you're an artist and you don't have, per se, nothing on the resume, you can start creating those little things on your resume. Those are things that you produce that, are projects that you can now start to build your work. And it could be as small as, it doesn't have to be, when people think about things like that, it doesn't have to be a huge production. It can be a 2-minute, a 2-minute film, a 5-minute film, a 10-minute project. It can be something small, but it's something to help you start to build your catalog of work, so that you, number one, you develop and you continue to build your craft and you develop in that. But two, you also start to have things that, where people can see. They can start to actually see your work. So those go hand in hand with that independent. And it's great to, in the time that we are now, especially, to even partner up with someone. It's a great time to start thinking about things and writing things alongside one another, to have to shoot later on when we're not quarantining. Or you can get real creative. Some things I've seen is people getting real creative with, shooting things, on their computer, or taking something they're shooting alone and someone shooting something somewhere else. So it's very creative time for that. But you want to continue to develop that independence, that catalog of work, that catalog of things possibly you produce, that catalog of things that you shot. So that is that independence. So continue to build that. Now, the business part, I'm going to come back to. I'm going to spend time, but the business part is, if you're in a field as an artist, you have, people, you're going to work, nothing wrong with that. You definitely got to work. You got to support yourself. But what you need to really start thinking about is, what can I do to benefit, or to start putting monies together so that I can do what I love a lot. And, going to work, and sometimes I can understand that's tough. When I've worked, I've juggled, I've had to run out on lunch breaks. I had to, I had to move things around, stay at work later, come and work earlier, so those things, you have to do, but you want to start finding a hustle for yourself, that you now create some type of business income for yourself, so that you can do the things that you love all the time. Now, I think a lot of times as artists, we might think of it maybe as a very narrow perspective, now, but I'm starting to see a lot of people getting creative with some of the things that they're doing, their side hustles, to start getting income coming in for themselves. But I think that's a really, really important pillar to think about and to talk about, because that's one sometimes that gets overlooked. And I think sometimes when we go into, per se, an audition room, and you're thinking about really how you're supporting yourself, where money is coming from, that sometimes can put a lot more pressure on you that you may not necessarily need. And, being able to look at it from that perspective, I know, especially if you're going in on camera, we can really see it sometimes, right? You can see it, I got to book this job. you can see those things, in the camera. So, or you can see in the performance. Can it help? Yeah, it could. But really easing your mind on creating some type of income coming in for you. But the one thing I do notice is when artists have that, they think of multiple streams of income sometimes where it's not a flow of multiple stream of income. It's kind of running here and running there. So there should be a coherence with your with your stream of income that can be beneficial to you. So that's the business part. And I want to come back to that because that's really, really important. The M portion of that is the mainstream or whatever mainstream things you're going after. If you're an actor, you're going for theater, or if you're an actor, you're going for, film or television, or you want to be, spokesperson, whatever it is, that mainstream where you're trying to partner up with a company or work with a television broadcast or a film or a theater company where, you're trying to establish yourself what you initially got into the craft for, right? Is, if you're doing films, you want to do films, right? If you want to do movies, you want to be in movies. Who doesn't want that series regular role? Who doesn't want that film? Or who doesn't want that a great film? Who doesn't want those things? Those are mainstream that, you definitely want to be able to establish, because I know a lot of people have got into arts for that. They want that mainstream, they want that film, they want that television, they want those things. But with mainstream, we want to make sure that we're keeping it main. What do I mean is, like, when we're coming in mainstream, it's about that project. It's not about our projects. It's about that project and putting in our best work and going in hard for that specific project. And I do believe there is a time and a place to talk about, the projects that you're working on, but sometimes it's not per se at that where, you're trying to establish yourself mainstream. Maybe that's not the appropriate place to talk about it. Of course, unless someone asks about it, so we're there to do that work at that specific time for that project and to support that project. So you have your independent, you have your business, you have your mainstream. And in case you've jumped or just came in on the stream a little bit later, that independent, the I is that independent grind. That's your independent grind. That is what you are doing for your own projects to establish your own catalog of work, whether it be a joint venture or whether it be you doing something yourself. I'm coming from an actor perspective, but this can go for musicians, this can go for singers, dancers. It doesn't matter. You can use this same formula to help you. And a lot of you guys may know that out there, but these are things that just to think about and to make sure that you're adding to really focus in on these pillars and have goals for these specific pillars. So again, if you guys have comment, put anything in a comment. If someone would like to come on and talk about it, I can bring you on as a guest. If you are here with me in the broadcast, I can send you a link. If anybody's watching it on my page, I can definitely send you a link, and you just have to put in the comments, I would love to come on and talk about it, and I will get that to you. So getting back to it again, independent, that is you. That is your independent crown, which you're building your portfolio, your catalog of work, so that you have things, and especially being new, if you don't have any work, that gives you an opportunity to put something on the resume and to show the work that you do. Because some people say, hey, I'm not getting in the room, or they're not calling me in for this project. Maybe it is because, most of the people, they're getting, especially in film, we may see the same people going into rooms and stuff like that. This gives you an opportunity to create something on your own so that someone can see those things. And also, you might find that when you're creating your own projects from an independent perspective, you might find that you might love an aspect of it, whether it be directing it or whether it be producing it or whether it be writing it. You might find another pillar of that specific of your craft. You might find some joy in there. So I always encourage people to write things and to do things, getting comfortable with the camera. Again, talking about your independent grind, getting comfortable with the camera. I tell people, before you take any headshots, what you want to do is you definitely want to play with that camera. You don't want to go in tight. You should know what you're looking like. You should know, as you're shooting those pictures with that photographer, you should have that connection. You should have those inner thoughts going in. So, but you want to see what that looks like on camera. So it's great to start playing with those things, playing with cameras, playing with shooting. This all goes with your independent grind, so that you can really start to establish and really getting an idea for yourself, what are the things that go into it, because the thing about the independent grind that really gives you something is that when you know what it takes sometimes for production, I think it gives you a broader perspective of what's going on. I think it broadens you from not only a creative perspective, but from a business perspective. It broadens it broadens your knowledge on things. So spending time with that creative arm in your independent grind is great. Now, business, like I said, I want to get really back with this, and I think this is worth spending a little bit of time with. And I'm not going to be too long with you guys, but the business grind about it is, with a business, I believe that everyone should get some form of a business. As actors, you have write-offs. You are able to write some things off, but they're pretty limited to what it is that you can actually write off if you had a business. Now, the thing with that is, a lot of times when you break it down, like, I'll use this as an example. If you shoot, per se, a television show or a film, I know at least here in the tri-state area, in New York, that film, if you shoot it and you actually fill out your tax form for that, half of your money is gone. That's just how it is. Half of that money is already gone. And I know some people, they do, they may put more exemptions on it, but you're really not getting the benefits as per if it was a business. Here's why. In America today, you got to realize that how you make your money is more important than how much money you make. I'm going to say that again. How you make your money is more important than how much money you make. You can have X amount of money. You can be bringing in, say, 100,000, but 30% of that is roughly gone. A lot of that money is gone, and you're not reaping any of that back. The reason being is because our biggest expense is taxes. No matter which way we twist it, no matter if you don't like business or you love business or you don't, I think there's some things that you can learn and understand to just get a little bit of knowledge with it, because the knowledge is going to empower you from a perspective on the long run. Sometimes we think short term in reference to business. Okay, I book a job. I have this, I got this amount of money. If you're shooting a film or you're doing television, I might have some residual checks coming. But here's the thing is that when you got to think from a long-term perspective, those write-offs, things that you don't have as an artist or which are limited when you don't have a business, these little things like, per se, your cell phone, a lot of times we can write off a ton of the cell phone if we're doing business on it. If the agent is calling you, or you're doing emails on that, or if you're using that per se for business, a lot of that 80% of that bill you can write off. And here's the other kicker in having a business, and I'm gonna break down the benefits of having certain types of business where it's going to really, really help you out. Okay. Now, when you look at, little things as write-offs, is where you conduct your business, and organizing it. Say, some people say, okay, I don't have a house, so I can't write those things off. They say I only rent, but that's not true. You can actually, and I'm gonna break down what type of business can afford you. That is, you can have a business where you work a specific area in your house where you do all your, whether it's your mailings, whether you do your writing, whatever it is you do pertaining to the business of the craft, or should I say the business of the craft. Wherever you do that business in that specific area, you may be able to write off a percentage of that and get that back in your taxes. That's your cell phone. Again, that's where you live. That can be part of your wardrobe. That could be you actually driving to an audition, writing off mileage. There's different things where you can benefit from it. But you, as the artist, if you don't know those things, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Trust me, I was pretty ignorant about a lot of those things. And getting just a little bit of information can help go a long way to set you up for a multitude of ways on how you can start keeping money in your pocket. Because as I mentioned a few minutes earlier, it's not necessarily how much you make, but it's how you make your money is going to be in the long run. So that business component is very, very important. Now, a lot of you on the stream might be saying, hey, you might be telling me, well, Jeff, you know what? I don't know what type of business per se to do. I say I coach on the side, or, I train, or, I'm a trainer, or I do this, or I'm a barber, or I have these different things on the side that you have. The thing that you want to have with any business is you want to be able to have the streams of income. You don't want to have multiple puddles of income. What do I mean? If you look at a business like a Walmart, right? Walmart has where they have, you go into a Walmart, you'll see a pharmacy, you'll probably see a bank, you'll see, McDonald's, a Subway. You'll see different brands and stuff on the shelf. You're going to see all of those different things, right? That's having multiple streams coherently together. Multiple puddles is a little bit different. That's like saying I cut hair, I train. There's no, I train, I have, where I have this side gig, but there's really no coherence with it. It's kind of pieced together. So you want to be able to have that. Now, you might say, I don't have that knowledge, right? You said, Jeff, I don't have that knowledge of what it is that you're talking about. And if I do have that knowledge, you do have a knowledge, like like a franchise. A franchise can cost you, a couple $1 million to do it. And, there's a lot of things, guidelines that you have to follow with it. I think as an artist, or any anyone getting into business, I think one of the smartest things that you can do is get a home-based business. Here's why. A home-based business will afford you to be able to write off the things that I had mentioned. If, your cell phone, you're going to be able to write a huge percentage on that if you're doing business. If you rent, you're going to be able to write a portion of the rent off, because what you're doing is you're going to be able to, in a smart way, is to conduct business in a specific area in your home. That should be a specific place where you do business. But it's going to afford you to write off some of those expenses, because again, our biggest expense is our taxes. So understanding how you can benefit from the taxes is going to go a long way for you. And the other benefit of having a home-based business is you don't have to spend a lot of money for it. You don't have to spend the millions of dollars. You don't have to have the expert. You don't have to have the franchise fees and things of that nature that cost to have it. A home-based business can afford you to write off what you're doing as the artist, but also to have the business to go alongside with that. So you can now, if you're working in a job, you can now start to develop a business for yourself to, now have the freedom and the flexibility to be able to, per se, pursue your passion, your career as that artist without having to worry about saying, I got to adjust my time at work or I can't make this audition at that time. So you want to think about it also from that perspective, and also, something that is, going to give you some longevity if you wanted to take a break from the craft. There's nothing wrong with that. You want to be able to have that option as well. So that's, that business component. I think sometimes as artists, we don't pay as much attention to it, or we don't think that we have the savvy, or we say, what, I'm about the craft. I'm not necessarily about, the business aspect of it. But I think it's very, very important to really start to think about those, because as you're going along the way, it's going to really benefit you tremendously. So that is the B part of it. We touched about your independent grind. That is your you developing projects, whether it be yourself or be a joint venture with other people. The business, really, as the artist, to have the business portion of that, and also now mainstream, being able to say, okay, this is something now I want to go after. You know what? These are things that I want to do, and I can deep dive into mainstream probably on another time in it. And if you guys have questions in reference to that, I don't have all the questions, but definitely resources and stuff like that people could also chime in, and the things that I don't have answers to, I can definitely get you those answers in there. But getting back to the mainstream, and we're going to start wrapping this up. The mainstream, really having those goals, because I think a lot of people get in the craft, you can become a little jaded in reference to maybe that mainstream is not happening fast enough. But you got to realize that all the things that I talked about, that the independence, the mainstream, and the independence, the business, and the mainstream, they all go hand in hand. The thing is with mainstream, to get in the room, per se, there's only X amount of projects. And I'm coming from an actor's perspective, but that's for anyone. There's only X amount of roles, whether that be in theater, whether that be in film, there's only X amount of roles that they can fill. So you got to realize that casting directors, they want to put the best people for those projects, in those roles. And the role as a casting director at times can be very difficult, because they really want to fill those roles, and they want to do it as efficient as possible. And the thing as an artist that we can do is be very, very prepared before we go in those rooms, so that even if you don't get those roles, you're able to now be remembered, leaving something in there that they're going to remember, say, oh yeah, well, that actor or actress was really, really good. So they're going to remember them. And, there's other pillars of it, but I'm just going to do a small piece of it, because I know there's a social media, pillar of this. But really, just for the mainstream, I just want to talk about that. In at another time, we can talk about social media and things of that nature. But uh, mainstream, again, casting directors only have X amount, and there's a lot of great casting directors, out there, and they are really trying to get those roles filled. To put them, to really make their jobs a lot easier. They want to get them filled, and I understand sometimes that those can be very, very frustrating for the artist. You can be very, very frustrated at the fact that, I'm not getting in the room. But that, like I said again, that independent grind where you have the content where people can start looking at it, even if you per se don't have the mainstream credits, because you got to put yourself in the shoes of that casting director or the producers of those projects. You got to put yourself in those shoes from a business perspective, is that they want to hire people that they can trust. And they need to know that they can trust you. Now, if they don't know you, the only thing that they can go upon is the work that you bring in the room. And it's our job when we go in the room to be at your absolute best when you go in the room for that 2 minutes or whatever it is. When they say go, you're ready to go. When they say action, it's in your focus. You're fully engaged in that scene. And those are things for that mainstream to get in. If we're not getting them, to get that mainstream, we can continue being at our best in the craft, really working on that. So that's why I think that I piece, and all of them go together, the I, the B, and the M, they all fit together. You really can't think of them separate, because as you build your independent, it'll start to help you in your mainstream. It's going to start to possibly get you in those theater auditions. It'll get you in possibly the movie, film, TV. And again, if you're just coming in, this could be beneficial for anybody, whatever genre of art that you're in. This can be very, very beneficial to you. So, don't be frustrated that someone didn't call you in the room. The thing is, for that mainstream, what you can continue to do is just develop that craft. And that's why I say that portion of that is very, very important, because all you can really do is, really get in front of that camera yourself every day and just work on your art, work on your craft. That's what you can do. And, even if you're per se that you're not great at writing, by improvising some things or really just talking through, some creative ideas that you have in your mind, those are things possibly that can help you as well. Those are things that definitely can help you as well. So being able to just talk, to say, I can't write, but I can talk out something. That's a great place to start to get that creativity going. And I'm going to talk, at another time we can build on those things as well to help. But that I part, that independent grind, is definitely going to help you with that mainstream grind as well, because you're developing your skill set continually. And here's the thing, you can't think of it as, something is not falling for naught. I always say that the laws of averages say that the more you do something, the better that you get. So now we can't expect someone to hire us for a multi-million-dollar project and we're not doing the things that are worthy to get that, be involved with that production of that level. So it's really, really important to develop it in the eye and that independence, really developing it every day that you get a chance to do that. And eventually, as you start to build that up, start to build up that work, you'll have the confidence. And so when you are invited into the room, or you are invited to that film to audition, or that theater production, whatever it is, you're going to be able to be confident in that, because you've done it so many times over and over and over, and you start to see yourself doing those things. And that's for another time. We'll talk about, you know, the mindset that you have to have, and you know that how important that mindset is in going to not only just your art, but just in life and everything you do. Being able to have a specific mindset and breaking away from maybe some old things that possibly could have held you back from the things that you're doing. So just to recap, lastly, the I is your independence grind. That is the work that you put together, whether it be you or a joint venture. The B is that business, getting a business that is something that is going to help you to not only establish, you know, yourself or to be able to create a stream of income for you, but something that possibly can give you longevity to possibly fund your projects, or to you being able to sustain your lifestyle with yourself and not being not to necessarily depend on someone else. And that M, that mainstream, that is you going after film, television, theater, or whatever art or form that you're in, is going in that mainstream for those productions that are, you know, or cast from people putting those productions together. So I'm going to end that there. I appreciate your time. My name is Jeff Green. And until I catch you guys the next time, just continue to believe in the dreams that you got, but make them a reality by putting them into action and not settling for less. So you guys take care.